They say when the gods want to teach a man patience, they don't deny him, they delay him. And when he rushes ahead of his destiny, even his crown becomes a curse. It was on the night the palace drums cracked from the rain that this tale truly began. A child's cry pierced the wind, but the king wasn't there to hear it. That night, joy and regret were born in the same kingdom, and ever since, the land of Ajay has never forgotten what happened when King Donald could not wait. King Donald ruled over Ajay, a kingdom lush with yam-filled valleys, whispering rivers, and forests thick with secrets. The people feared and loved him. His words shaped seasons, and his gaze turned brave men into stammering boys. Yet for all his might, he had no son. His queen, Janet, had given him 2 daughters, Mandy, sharp-tongued and fearless, and Helen, gentle like her mother. But in the eyes of tradition, daughters were blessings without weight. The throne demanded a male heir. At every royal gathering, the elders grew bolder. "Age must never be without a crown prince," one said. "Time does not wait for kings," another warned. Queen Janet had heard these whispers too. Still, she held her head high, carrying the weight of expectations silently. Until one day, with a trembling heart, she walked into the palace garden where King Donald sat beneath the ancient Iroko tree. "My lord," she said, "the gods have remembered us. I carry life again." The king's eyes lit up for a moment, but doubt had already poisoned his joy. "Let us hope this child is not another girl," he muttered. That night, Queen Janet cried into her wrapper. Outside, the wind carried her grief far beyond the palace walls. A moon passed, then another, and the king's impatience grew like wildfire in dry grass. One day, a trader from across the mountains arrived with stories. "There is a girl," he said, "in the land of Ibarra. Beautiful, strong. Her mother bore 4 sons. Surely she carries the seed of princes." The king did not consult the gods, nor his wife. He sent gifts, wrappers, beads, cattle, and soon Margaret, barely 20, arrived at the palace gates as his second queen. Queen Janet stood on the palace steps as the drums welcomed her rival. She said nothing, but her silence thundered louder than the drums. 2 women now walked the palace halls, one heavy with legacy, the other with ambition. Queen Janet was quiet but respected. Her daughters watched her with love. Queen Margaret was radiant and cunning. She moved with the confidence of someone already imagining her son on the throne. Both women were pregnant, but only one believed she was carrying the kingdom's future. "Mine will be the son," Margaret would whisper.
"Mine will be the son, and then let's see whose name the people chant."
It was the season of Harmattan when the storm came early. That night, Queen Janet went into labor. The palace shook with tension, but King Donald was not with her. He was by Queen Margaret's side. Her pains had begun just hours earlier. Midwives raced between both chambers. Then in Queen Janet's room, just as thunder rolled across the roof, the cries of a baby boy filled the air. "A son!" the midwife cried. "A son has been born to Queen Janet." The joy was wild. Palace maids ululated, elders bowed, drummers beat rhythms of destiny. But where was the king? Still in Margaret's chamber. Minutes later, Queen Margaret gave birth to a daughter. The room fell silent. King Donald stared at the child, stunned. A baby girl, soft and quiet. Then he heard footsteps running toward him. "My king!" a servant shouted, breathless. "Queen Janet has delivered a son." The child was named Prince Great, for he arrived when all had doubted, and his birth restored hope to the throne. He was strong from birth, and his sisters, Mandy and Helen, adored him. Even Queen Janet, who had suffered in silence, began to smile again. But joy does not sit alone for long. Queen Margaret, who had once walked like wind, now carried the weight of jealousy on her shoulders. Her daughter, Princess Olivia, grew in the shadows of her stepbrother. "That throne should have been yours," she'd whisper into her daughter's ear at night. "If only fate had not mocked us." Years passed. Prince Great grew tall and wise. The people loved him. The elders smiled at him. Even the sun seemed to follow him. But jealousy is like fire. It only takes a spark. At Prince Great's 5th birthday feast, Queen Margaret made her move. She approached the palace cook, offering him a pouch of gold. "Tonight," she whispered, "Queen Janet must sleep long, too long." That night, Queen Janet ate her meal. Moments later, she collapsed, clutching her stomach. Cries rang out. "The Queen! The Queen!" Physicians rushed in. "It's poison," they said. The palace froze, but the gods were not done. A young servant boy had seen Margaret with the cook. He spoke, trembling. She said, "Make sure it's only her plate. I swear it." For the first time in his life, King Donald felt the full weight of shame. He had taken a second wife in haste, neglected his true queen, and now nearly lost her to betrayal. Margaret was summoned to the royal court. "You tried to kill the mother of my only son," he said. "I tried to claim what was promised to me," she snapped, unrepentant. She was stripped of her title and sent back to her father's house. But Princess Olivia was spared and remained in the palace under Queen Janet's care. With Margaret gone, peace returned. Prince Great continued to grow under Queen Janet's watchful eye. Mandy and Helen took on leadership roles in the Women's Council, while Princess Olivia became a quiet, humble girl who often sat by Queen Janet's feet, learning gentleness and grace. Years later, when Prince Great turned 18, the people gathered once more. The great drum of the kingdom was sounded. King Donald, now older and wiser, stood before his son.
"I didn't come to talk to the crowd. I came to speak to destiny."
"I once doubted the gods," he said. "I rushed what should have been waited on. But the gods are never late. It is men who are impatient." He removed his crown and placed it on Prince Great's head. "Rule with wisdom, my son. May your reign begin where my errors end." They say in the land of Ajay, when a child is born, the drummers now wait for silence before they play, just in case. And in the evening breeze, old women still tell the tale of the king who had it all, but almost lost it because he could not wait. The gods may walk slowly, but their footsteps never miss the path. Moral of the story: the fruit ripens in its own time. When we rush the gods, we miss the sweetness meant for us. Patience is the crown that never tarnishes.